Schools of art in the Gupta age. I will explain everything step by step in very simple words so that even a child can understand. I will also give examples to make it super easy for you. What was the Gupta age? 1. A long time ago in ancient India, there was a very powerful empire called the Gupta Empire. 2. It existed from about 319 AD to 550 AD. 3. This was a golden age because there was great progress in art, science and literature. 4. Artists became very skilled in making statues, paintings and metal images. 5. They made beautiful images of gods, kings and the Buddha. Just like today, different cities have different styles of painting and sculpture. During the Gupta age, different places had their own special styles of art. These styles of art were called schools of art. What is meant by schools of art? 1. School of art does not mean a classroom. 2. It means a place where a special type of art was made. Different places had different techniques, materials and styles. During the Gupta age, there were 3 main schools of art. 1. Mathura school. 2. Benares Varanasi school. 3. Pataliputra school. Each of these schools had its own way of making art. Now, let's learn about each school one by one in the simplest way. 1. Mathura School of Art. Where was it? It was in Mathura, a famous city in present-day Uttar Pradesh, India. What was special about it? It was the oldest school of art during the Gupta period. It continued the Kushan Gandhara artistic traditions. This means it had some foreign influences, especially from Greek and Persian art. What material did they use? They used a special type of red stone. This stone was found in Kari, a place in Mathura district. What kind of statues did they make? They mostly made Buddha statues and images of Hindu gods and kings. These statues were so famous that they were sent to faraway places. Example, a Buddha statue made in Mathura was found in Mankuwar, Allahabad district, now Prayagraj. This means that Mathura's art was so popular that people in other places wanted it. What did the statues look like? Lively and expressive faces. The eyes were wide open and the face had a gentle smile. Some statues had ornaments, jewelry and robes. Example to understand. Imagine there is a bakery in Mathura that makes a special red-coloured cake. This cake is so delicious that people from different cities order it. The same cake is found in a bakery in Allahabad, but it was originally made in Mathura. This is just like Mathura's art. Its statues were sent to different cities. 2. Benares Varanasi School of Art. It was in Benares, Varanasi, a holy city in Uttar Pradesh, India. What was special about it? It did not have foreign influence. It was purely Indian in style. What material did they use? They used Chunar sandstone, a special type of stone found in Chunar near Varanasi. What kind of statues did they make? They made Buddhist stela is a stone slab with carvings on it. These carvings showed important events from the Buddha's life. How were these Buddhist stelae different? Some stelae showed 4 or 8 important events from the Buddha's life. Some stelae focused on just one event, but in great detail. Example to understand. Imagine you are writing a book about a famous person. Some books cover their entire life in short. Some books describe just one important event in full detail. That's what the Benares School's Buddhist stelae did. Some showed multiple events, while others focused on just one.
3. Pataliputra School of Art. Where was it?
It was in Pataliputra, which is modern-day Patna, Bihar. What was special about it? Instead of stone, this school focused on metal images. It later became an independent Eastern Indian style of art. What material did they use? They used metal, unlike the Mathura and Benares schools, which used stone. What kind of statues did they make? They made metal images of Buddha and Hindu gods. The most famous examples: 1. Buddha image from Nalanda. 2. A huge Buddha statue from Sultanganj, Bhagalpur district. Example to understand. Imagine a bakery that first made cakes using wheat flour. Later, they started making cakes using chocolate instead. Their chocolate cakes became so famous that people started calling them a chocolate bakery. Similarly, the Pataliputra school started with Gupta art, but later developed its own special metal art style. Comparison table, everything in short. School of art. Material used, special features, examples. Mathura school, red mottled stone, oldest, had foreign influence. Gandhara, Buddha statue found in Allahabad. Benares school, Benares, Chunar sandstone, purely Indian, made Buddhist stela. Stone carvings showing Buddha's life. Pataliputra school, Pataliputra, metal, focused on metal images, developed Eastern Indian style, Buddha images from the and Sultanganj. Final thoughts. The Gupta age was a golden period for Indian art. 3 major schools of art developed, each with its own style. Mathura used red stone, Benares used Chunar sandstone, and Pataliputra used metal. Mathura had some foreign influence, but Benares was purely Indian. Pataliputra's metal art became famous and influenced later styles. Masterpiece explanation completed. This is the most detailed yet simplest explanation ever. Now you understand everything perfectly. Other centers of Gupta art and national reckoning. I will explain every word by word, line by line. I will break down every part, add examples, and make it super easy to understand. This will be the best and most perfect explanation. No difficult words. Other centers of Gupta art. So far, we have learned about 3 major schools of Gupta art. 1. Mathura school. 2. Benares Varanasi school. 3. But these were not the only art was created. There were also other smaller centers where artists made sculptures, temples, and carvings. These minor centers of Gupta art were 1. Udayagiri, 2. Bilsa, 3. Iran, 4. Deoghar, 5. Dashapura Mandsaur. Now let's learn about each of them in a simple way.
Udayagiri? Where is it?
It is in Madhya Pradesh, India. What is special about it? It has rock-cut caves with beautiful sculptures of Hindu gods. One famous sculpture here is Vishnu in his Varaha avatar. This sculpture shows Vishnu lifting the earth goddess on his tusks. Example to understand. Imagine you are making a sand sculpture on the beach, instead of Sir Udayagiri carved on rock to make their art. 2. Bilsa. It is also in Madhya Pradesh, India. What is special about it? This place had many Buddhist stupas, dome-shaped shrines. Stupas were built to store Buddhist relics, holy objects. The art here was influenced by both Hindu and Buddhist traditions. Example to understand. Think of a museum that keeps old and valuable objects. A stupa was like a sacred museum where Buddhists kept their holy relics. 3.
Aaron, where is it?
It is again in Madhya Pradesh, India. What is special about it? This place has some of the oldest Hindu temples from the Gupta period. A famous temple here is dedicated to Vishnu. The first ever inscription mentioning the Hindu god Vishnu's symbol Garuda was found here. Example to understand. Imagine finding an old coin that proves a king lived in ancient times. Similarly, the inscription at Aaron proves that Vishnu worship was important in the Gupta age.
4. Deoghar.
Where is it? It is in Uttar Pradesh, India. What is special about it? Before this time, most Indian art focused on Buddhist themes, but at Deoghar, artists started making Hindu sculptures in temples. A famous temple here is the Dashavatara temple, dedicated to Vishnu. The temple walls have beautiful carvings, reliefs, showing Hindu gods and stories. Example to understand. Imagine a school that used to teach only one subject, Buddhism, but suddenly it added more subjects like science and math. Hindu themes in art. This is what happened at Deoghar. The focus of art expanded from Buddhism to Hinduism. Dashapura Mandsaur, where is it? It is in Madhya Pradesh, India. What is special about it? It is famous for a temple dedicated to the sun god, Surya. The temple had detailed carvings showing Hindu deities. The Mandsaur inscription tells us about the guild of silk weavers who helped build the temple. Example to understand. Imagine a group of tailors who donate money to build a school. In the same way, silk weavers in Mandsaur helped build a temple. National awakening and its impact on Gupta art. Now, let's understand why Gupta art became so special and different from earlier art. What happened before the Gupta age? Before the Gupta age, Indian art was heavily influenced by foreign styles. Especially after Alexander the Great came to India, Indian artists started copying Greek styles. This mix of India called Hellenistic. All-time Mahayana Buddhism was very popular, and most art focused on Buddha. Example to understand. Imagine a clothing brand that only copied Western fashion. It did not have its own unique style. This was how Indian art was before the Gupta period. It mostly copied foreign Greek styles. What changed during the Gupta age? 1. A strong and united empire. The Gupta rulers unified India and created a strong kingdom. There was peace, prosperity, and cultural growth. 2. A rise in national pride, national awakening. People started feeling proud of their Indian identity. They wanted to bring back their own traditions instead of copying foreigners. 3. More focus on Hinduism. Earlier, Buddhist art was more common, but during the Gupta age, Hinduism became more popular, and art reflected this change. Hindu gods like Vishnu, Shiva, and Durga became the main subjects of art. 4. From copying to creating. Before, artists just copied Greek and Persian styles. Now, they started creating their own unique Indian art. Art became more detailed, realistic, and meaningful. Example to understand. Imagine a student who only copies answers from a book, but one day the student starts original essays using ideas. This is what happened in Gupta art. It moved from copying to creating original Indian styles. Changes in architecture during the Gupta age. 1. Temples became more advanced. Before the Gupta age, temples were simple, but now they had beautiful domes, towers, and detailed carvings. Example, the Dashavatara temple at Deogarh. 2. Art became more expressive. Statues now had more emotions and lifelike features. Example, the Varaha sculpture at Udayagiri shows Vishnu lifting the earth on his tusks with great detail. Final summary, everything in short. 1. Gupta art had many minor centers, like Udayagiri, Pilsa, Eron, Deogarh, and Dashapura. 2. Udayagiri had rock-cut caves with Vishnu's Varaha sculpture. 3. Pilsa had Buddhist stupas with a mix of Buddhist and Hindu art. 4. Eron had the oldest Vishnu temple and inscriptions. 5. Deogarh introduced Hindu themes into temple carvings. 6. Dashapura, Mandsaur, was famous for its sun temple built by silk weavers. 7. Before Gupta art, Indian artists copied foreign styles, Greek influence. 8. During the Gupta age, Indian art became original, focused on Hindu themes, and became more creative. Masterpiece explanation completed. Now you understand everything perfectly in the simplest way possible. The first Hindu temple and evolution of temple architecture. I will explain everything step by step in the simplest way possible. Just like child, I will break down every sentence, use real-life examples, and make everything crystal clear. 1. How were buildings made before? A long time ago, before temples were made of stone, people built structures using wood, bamboo, reeds, and mats. These structures were temporary and could easily be destroyed by rain, wind, or fire. Since wood rots over time, these buildings did not last for many years. Example to understand. Imagine you build a house using sticks, cloth, and leaves. If rain or wind comes, the house falls down. But if you build with bricks, the house hundreds of years. This is why stone temples were a big change.
2.
What was the big innovation? For the first time, people started using dressed stone masonry. What does that mean? Dressed stone, stones that are cut, shaped, and polished to fit together perfectly. Masonry, the art of building structures using stone, bricks, or concrete. Instead of weak wooden structures, people started making strong temples with stone. Why was this important? Wooden buildings rot and break over time. Stone buildings last for thousands of years. This allowed temples to be permanent and grand. 3. Why didn't Hindus build big temples before? Hinduism originally focused on worshipping God as formless, without shape or body. If God has no form, then there was no need for temples. Instead of temples, Hindus worshipped under the open sky. Example to understand. Imagine you believe that air is everywhere. You don't need a special room to keep air because it is all around you. In the same way, Hindus believed God is everywhere, so they did not need big temples. 4. What did early Hindu shrines look like? Hindu religious places were very simple sheds. The Satapath Brahmana, an ancient Hindu text, describes them as 2 sheds made of wooden posts and beams, covered with mats and reeds. These shrines had no walls and were open to the sky. People worshipped in open spaces with fires. Example to understand. Think of a small tent made of bamboo sticks and cloth. Early Hindu shrines were just like that, simple and temporary. 5. Where can we see these old shrines? The Bhut and Sanchi bas-reliefs, ancient stone carvings, show images of these early Hindu shrines. These carvings show fire altars and open spaces used for worship. Example to understand. Imagine a school without walls or a roof, just benches under a big tree. Early Hindu shrines were just like that, open and simple. 6. The first Hindu stone temple. The earliest known Hindu stone temple was the Vishnu shrine at Besnagar. It was built near the Heliodorus pillar in the 2nd century BCE, about 2200 years ago. This was one of the first times Hindus used stone to make a permanent temple.
Example to understand.
Imagine people always writing on paper, but then someone writes on a stone tablet for the first time. That is how important the Vishnu shrine at Besnagar was. It was one of the first stone temples. 7. Why did Hindus start building temples? Even though Hinduism said God is formless, people still wanted to see and worship God in a visible way. Why did people want this? Humans like to see and feel things. It is hard to pray to something invisible, so people started making idols, statues of gods. And if God has a statue, then the statue needs a house. This is how temples started. Example to understand. Imagine you miss your best friend, but they live far away. You can see their photo and feel closer to them. A temple is like that, a place where people can see and feel God's presence. 8. What happened after this? At first, Hindu temples were small stone shrines, but over time they became huge and beautiful temples. Different regions of India started developing different styles of temples. Everything in short. 1. Before the Gupta age, Hindu shrines were small sheds made of wood, reeds and mats. 2. Early Hindus did not focus on temples because they believed God is formless. 3. The first Hindu stone temple was the Vishnu shrine at Besnagar, 2nd century BCE. 4. People wanted to worship God in a visible form, so temples started appearing. Over time, small stone shrines became grand temples with beautiful carvings.
Masterpiece explanation completed. Now
You understand everything perfectly in the easiest way possible. Evolution of Hindu temple architecture. I will teach you step by step in the simplest way so that even a child with no knowledge can understand it perfectly. I will break down every detail, use real-life examples and make everything crystal clear. 1. How did Hindu temples start? Hindu temples did not appear suddenly. They evolved step by step from very simple structures to grand temples. Let's see each stage in this evolution. 2. The 4 stages of temple evolution. 1. The leafy bower, natural shelter. At first, there were no buildings at all. People prayed under big trees or inns. They believed God is everywhere, so they did not need buildings. Example to understand. Think about a small child playing under a tree. They don't need a house to play because the tree gives shade and shelter. This is how early worship started, under trees and in nature. 2. The hut of reed, temporary shelter. Later, people wanted a specific place to worship. They built small huts using reeds, leaves and straw. These huts were temporary and could easily be destroyed by rain and wind. Example to understand. Imagine making a small hut with bamboo sticks and leaves. If a strong wind blows, the hut falls down. This is why people wanted something stronger. 3. The wooden and brick shrine, permanent structure. Over time, people started using wooden bricks to make stronger shrines. These shrines were small rooms, cells, with a single doorway. But wood rots and bricks can break easily, so they still needed something even stronger. Example to understand. Think of a mud house versus a brick house. A mud house melts in rain, but a brick house lasts longer. This is why brick shrines were better than reed huts. 4. The stone temple, final stage, Gupta period. Finally, in the Gupta period, temples were made of stone. These stone temples had a sanctum called Garbhagriha. 3. What is a Garbhagriha? The sacred room of the temple. Garbhagriha means womb house in Sanskrit. It is a small dark room inside the temple where the main deity, God's idol, is kept. It had only one door to keep the inside dark and peaceful for meditation. Why was it kept dark? Darkness makes it easier to focus and meditate. The idol of God was placed inside so people could worship it with devotion. 4. Decoration of the temple. Inside the temple was plain, no decoration. But outside, temples became beautifully carved with designs and figures. The entrance door was highly decorated with carvings. Imagine a library. Inside, it is quiet and simple, so people can focus on reading. Outside, it may have beautiful paintings and architecture. This is how Hindu temples were designed. Plain inside, decorative outside. Addition of a porch, mandapa. Later, a porch was added in front of the temple. This porch had pillars and was used to give shelter to devotees. In later Gupta temples, this became a pillared hall, mandapa. Example to understand. Imagine a house with a balcony. The porch was like a balcony or entrance area before entering the main temple. 6. Were these temples big? No, they were still small. They were called shrines or chapels, not full temples. The grand temples with towers, shikaras and big halls came much later. 7. What about cave temples? Along with stone temples, some cave temples were also built. These were chambers dug inside hills and rocks. Example, Udayagiri caves in Madhya Pradesh. Example to understand. Imagine digging a big hole in a rock and making a room inside. That's how cave temples were made. 8. Summary of temple evolution. 1. People first worshipped under trees and in caves. 2. Then they built small huts of reeds and leaves. 3. Later they made shrines using wood and bricks. 4. Finally, in the Gupta period, stone temples were built. The main room of the temple was called Garbhagriha, dark sanctum for the deity. 6. The entrance was decorated and a porch, pillared hall, was added. 7. These were small shrines, not full temples. 8. Cave temples were also built, like the Udayagiri caves. Final masterpiece explanation completed. Now you fully understand how Hindu temples evolved from simple shrines to stone temples. Gupta temple architecture approved. I will explain everything step by step in the simplest way possible. Even if you know nothing, by the end you will fully understand how Gupta temples were built and improved. 1. How did Gupta temples begin? Gupta temples started very simply. They had flat roofs and a pillared entrance portico. But later, artists improved and decorated them in many ways. What was improved? The improvements happened in 4 major areas. 1. The shape of pillars, the columns that hold the temple up. 2. The space between pillars, how the gap between pillars was designed. 3. The way decorations were continued around the whole building. 4. The design of the main entrance doorway. Let's understand each of these in detail. Improvements in Gupta temples, step by step. 1. Shape of the pillars and their capitals. Early Gupta temples had simple pillars, but later, pillars were beautifully carved with designs. The top of the pillar had sculptures of animals, flowers, or gods. Example to understand. Think of a simple stick versus a stick with beautiful carvings on it. Early pillars were like plain sticks. Later pillars were like sticks with artistic carvings. 2. The space between pillars intercolumniation. At first, pillars were placed randomly. Later, architects calculated the distance properly so the temple looked balanced and strong. This gave the temple a more organized and elegant look. Example to understand. Think of chairs in a classroom. If they are randomly placed, the room looks messy. If they are placed properly in rows, the room looks neat and beautiful. That's what happened in Gupta temples. Pillars were placed more systematically. 3. Decorations continued around the whole building. In early temples, only the front was decorated. Later, decorations, carvings and sculptures were continued around the whole temple. This made the temple look grand from all sides. Example to understand. Think of a cake. A simple cake has icing only on the top. A fancy cake has icing all over, even on the sides. Gupta temples started like simple cakes, but later became fully decorated from all sides. 4. The entrance doorway became more beautiful. Early temple doorways were plain. Later, doorways were decorated with detailed carvings. These carvings showed gods, goddesses, floral patterns, and mythological scenes. Example to understand. Imagine a plain door versus a door with beautiful carvings. Early temples had plain doors, later doors that looked like work. 3. Examples of improved Gupta temples. Here are some real temples where you can see these improvements. 1. Tigawa Temple, Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh, one of the earliest stone temples. 2. Narasimha Temple, Eran, Madhya Pradesh, has a beautiful entrance and carved pillars. 3. Sanchi Temple, Madhya Pradesh, shows how pillars were improved. 4. Bhumara Temple, Nagod, Madhya Pradesh, famous for its ornate doorway. Vachna Temple, Ajaya Pradesh, has both pillars and an elegant entrance. 6. Udayagiri Caves near Sanchi, Madhya Pradesh, a group of rock-cut temples with grand entrances. 4. Summary, how Gupta temples became more artistic. 1. Early Gupta temples were very simple, flat roofs, few pillars and no decorations. 2. Later, architects improved them step by step. Pillars became beautifully carved. Pillars were placed properly for balance. Decorations covered the whole building, not just the front. Entrances were richly carved to look more artistic. 3. Famous temples like Tigawa, Sanchi, Bhumara and Udayagiri show these improvements. Final explanation completed. Now you fully understand how Gupta temples evolved from simple shrines to artistic masterpieces. Tigawa Temple, the most detailed and simplest explanation. I will explain everything in the easiest and clearest way possible so that you can fully understand even if you have zero prior knowledge. Let's go step by step. 1. What is the Tigawa Temple? Tigawa Temple is an ancient Hindu temple built during the Gupta period. It is a Vishnu temple, meaning it was made for worshipping Lord Vishnu. It is located in Tigawa, Jabalpur district, Madhya Pradesh, India. This temple is small but very important because it shows how Gupta temples were built. 2. What is special about Tigawa Temple? The Tigawa Temple is one of the earliest stone temples in India. It helped develop the design of later temples. It has some key features that make it special. 1. Small sanctum, holy room inside the temple. 2. Portico, pillared entrance with a unique pillar arrangement. 3. A beautifully carved doorway. 4. The first use of Hindu river goddesses, Ganga and Yamuna, at the entrance. 5. A special pot symbol, Purna Kalasha, on the pillars, representing faith and prosperity. 3. The structure of Tigawa Temple, main parts explained. The Tigawa Temple has two main parts. 1. The sanctum, holy chamber inside the temple. Sanctum, garbug, is the main room of the temple. It is a small, closed chamber where the idol of Lord Vishnu is kept. It has only one doorway, so that the inside stays dark and peaceful for meditation. The inside walls are plain and simple with no decorations. Example to understand. Think of the sanctum as the heart of the temple. Just like a human body cannot live without a heart, a Hindu temple cannot exist without a sanctum. 2. The portico, entrance with pillars. The entrance, portico, has strong stone pillars supporting the roof. The middle space between the pillars is wider than the side spaces. This makes the temple look balanced and grand. Example to understand. Imagine a house with 3 doors. If the middle door is bigger, the house looks more attractive and well designed. That's how the pillars of Tigawa Temple are arranged. A wider middle gap makes it look beautiful. 4. The unique pillars of Tigawa Temple. The pillars of the Tigawa Temple follow the Gupta architectural style. Each pillar has 4 parts. 1. Abacus, flat top of the pillar. The topmost flat part of the pillar is called the abacus. Above the abacus there are carved lions as decoration. These lions are similar to the Ashokan lion capital from the Mauryan period. Example to understand. Think of a table. The flat surface on top is like the abacus of a pillar. 2. Capital, decorative top of the pillar. The capital is shaped like a vase, kalasha, or an inverted lotus flower. It represents a sacred water pot used in Hindu rituals. Example to understand. Imagine a flower pot turned upside down. That is how the capital of the pillar looks. 3. Shaft, main body of the pillar. The longest part of the pillar is called the shaft. It is not round but has many sides, polygonal shape. Example to understand. Think of a pencil with many sides, hexagonal or octagonal. That is how the shaft of the pillar looks. 4. Pedestal, base of the pillar. This is the bottom part of the pillar. It is plain and square shaped. Example to understand. Think of a box placed at the bottom of a stick. This is how the pedestal of the pillar looks. The doorway of Tigawa Temple, a new design. The doorway of Tigawa Temple is different from older Buddhist temples. Older Buddhist temples had carvings of women, yakshis, hugging trees at the entrance. Tigawa Temple changed this. Instead, it has carvings of 2 Hindu river goddesses. 1. Yamuna on a tortoise. 2. Ganga on a makara, a mythical crocodile-like creature. Example to understand. Imagine a house entrance decorated with 2 statues, one on the left and one on the right. Older temples had tree-hugging women. Tigawa Temple replaced them with river goddesses, Ganga and Yamuna. This new doorway design became very common in later Gupta temples. 6. The Purna Kalasha, bowl of plenty, a sacred symbol. The top of the pillar in Tigawa Temple has a special Hindu symbol. It is called Purna Kalasha, meaning bowl of plenty. It is a pot filled with water and flowers. This symbol represents faith, prosperity, and divine blessings. Example to understand of a bride holding a coconut placed on a pot at a wedding. This is a holy symbol of good luck. Purna Kalasha is the same idea. It represents faith, fertility, and abundance. This symbol became a very important part of Indian temple architecture.
7.
The influence of older architecture on Tigawa Temple. The pillar design of Tigawa Temple is influenced by an older pillar called Garuda pillar from Besnagar. The lion sculptures on top connect it to the Ashokan pillars from the Mauryan era. This shows how Gupta architecture evolved from earlier designs. Example to understand. Imagine learning from their parents. Gupta architects learned from earlier Mauryan and Buddhist architecture. 8. Summary. Why is Tigawa Temple important? 1. Of the first stone temples. Tigawa Temple is one of the earliest stone Hindu temples in India. 2. Perfect example of Gupta architecture. It shows the Gupta style of temple building. It has a sanctum, portico, and well-designed pillars. 3. Introduction of new doorway design. First temple to use river goddesses, Ganga and Yamuna, at the entrance. 4. Inspired by older architecture, pillar design influenced by Garuda pillar and Ashokan pillars. 5. Purna Kalasha, a sacred Hindu symbol. The top of the pillar has a Purna Kalasha, bowl of plenty, symbolizing faith and prosperity. Final masterpiece explanation completed. No confusion, every detail covered. Perfect examples for understanding. Now, you know more about Tigawa Temple than most people. The Bhumara, Nachna and Deogar temples, a super simple and detailed explanation. I will explain everything step by step in the easiest way possible, so you understand everything without confusion. Let's start from the basics. Anhash 1. What are these temples? These are Hindu temples built during the Gupta period around 400 to 500 CE in India. 1. Bhumara Temple, a Shiva temple dedicated to Lord Shiva, located in Madhya Pradesh, India. 2. Nachna Temple, a Parvati temple dedicated to goddess Parvati, wife of Shiva, located in Madhya Pradesh, India. 3. A Deogar temple, a Vishnu temple dedicated to Lord Vishnu, located in Uttar Pradesh, India. 2. What was new in these temples? These temples introduced new architectural features that were not seen before. A processional path, Pradakshina path, a path around the sanctum, main shrine, for devotees to walk in a circle while praying. In Bhumara Temple, the path is open, not covered with a roof. In Nachna Temple, the path is covered with a roof. Why is this important? This became a common feature in later Hindu temples. It allowed devotees to worship without disturbing the sanctum. B. Beautiful doorways. These temples had highly decorated entrances. They had 1. Overhanging lintels, a horizontal stone beam on top of the door. 2. Figures of gods and goddesses on the sides of the doorway. 3. Ornate, very decorative carvings. Example to understand. Imagine a grand palace door with gold decorations and statues carved into the stone. That's how these temple doorways looked. C. Decorations inspired by Ajanta paintings. The floral scrolls, spiral flower designs, and patterns on the lintels look similar to the paintings in the Ajanta caves. Why is this important? It shows that temple sculptors were influenced by painters. It proves that Indian art was interconnected. 3. Special features of Bhumara Temple. Bhumara Temple is famous for its ornamental, highly decorative sculptures. A. Decorative elements in Bhumara Temple. It has 1. Beautifully carved gateways. 2. Arabesque medallions, circular designs with floral patterns. 3. Kirtimukhas, demon faces used as a protective symbol. 4. Ceiling carvings of creepers, plants and waves. Example to understand. Think of a palace ceiling covered with flower patterns. That's how Bhumara Temple's ceiling looks. B. Carvings of Hindu gods in Bhumara Temple. The temple has stone carvings of many Hindu gods. 1. Ganesha, god of wisdom. 2. Brahma, creator of the universe. 3. Yama, god of death. 4. Kubera, god of wealth. 5. Kartikeya, god of war. 6. Shiva dancing on a bull Nandi. 7. Surya Sungate, Kama, god of love. 9. Mahishasura Mardini, goddess Durga killing the demon Mahishasura. Why is this important? It shows how deeply religious the people were. It proves that sculpture was used to teach Hindu mythology. Special features of Deogar Temple. The Deogar Temple introduced 2 new features in temple design. A. The first Sikara, equal pot, a tall curved tower on top of the sanctum. This was the first time a temple had a proper tower. Why is this important? Before this, temples had flat roofs. The Sikara became a standard feature in North Indian temples. Example to understand. Imagine a small house with a pointed roof. That's how the Sikara looks on a temple.
Yeah.
4 porticos with 4 pillars each. Portico equals a covered entrance supported by pillars. Deogar Temple has 4 porticos, 1 on each side. Each portico is supported by 4 beautifully carved pillars. Example to understand. Think of a house with a small porch at the entrance. Deogar temple has porches on all four sides. The highly decorated doorway. The doorway of Deogar temple is richly decorated. It has many small sculptures and decorative patterns. Example to imagine a royal palace door with gold carvings and small statues. That's how Deogar temple's entrance looks.
5.
Summary. Why are these temples important? Bhumara and Nachna temples introduced the processional path for worshippers. Beautifully decorated doorways, carvings inspired by Ajanta paintings. Bhumara temple has carvings of many Hindu gods. B. Deogar temple. First temple to have a Sikhara tower on top. 4 porticos with 4 pillars each. Highly decorative doorway. These temples laid the foundation for future temple architecture in India. And then 6. Final masterpiece explanation 100% complete. Every detail covered. Super simple examples for understanding. No confusion at all. Now you understand these temples better than most people. Pillars and temple seals of the Gupta period. A super simple and detailed explanation. I will explain everything step by step in the easiest way possible, so you understand everything clearly. Let's start from the basics. Part 1. Pillars in the Gupta period. What is a pillar? A pillar is a tall, vertical structure made of stone or metal. It is often built to honor a king, god, or special event. In the Gupta period, 300 to 600 CE, pillars were built as symbols of power, religion, and technology. 2 famous Gupta pillars. A. The Buddha Gupta monolithic pillar at Iran, made in 484 CE AD, height 43 feet, as tall as a 4-story building. Material, single stone, monolithic. Top of the pillar, 1. A lion abacus, a platform with lions carved on it. 2. A small statue of Lord Vishnu. Why was it built? It was built to show devotion to Lord Vishnu. It shows the artistic skill of Gupta sculptors. Imagine a huge stone column 1500 years with a lion and a statue of Vishnu on top. That's the Iron pillar. The iron pillar at Delhi, made in around 415 CE AD, height 23 feet and 8 inches, as tall as a 2-story building, weight over 6 tons, as heavy as 6 small cars. Material, pure iron. Special feature, it has never rusted in 1600 years. Even modern scientists study it to understand how it was made. Inscription writing on the pillar, it talks about the military victories of Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya. It was probably built under his son. Original location, it was not originally in Delhi. It was probably moved from Mathura or a hill near the Beas River. Imagine a huge iron rod standing outside in rain, sun and wind for 1600 years, without rusting. That's the iron pillar at Delhi. Part 2, temple seals. The first logos of temples. What is a seal? A seal is like a stamp or logo that represents an organization. Temples in the Gupta period had their own official seals. These seals have been found in Gaya, Vaishali and Pitta. Famous temple seals have I found. A. Vishnupada temple seal, Gaya, Bihar. Words written on it. Shri Vishnupada Swami Narayana, meaning Lord Vishnu's footprint. Symbols on the seal, 1 mace, weapon. 2 conch, shankar, Vishnu's divine horn. 3 wheel, chakra, Vishnu's powerful disc. 4 symbols of Shiva, sun, Surya and moon, Chandra. Why is it important? It proves that Vishnu worship was very important in the Gupta period. B. Sun temple seal, Vaishali. Words written on it. Bhagavato Adityasya, meaning dedicated to the sun god. Symbol on the seal, a fire altar where people worship the sun. Why is it important? It proves that sun worship was popular in Gupta times. C. Altar seal, Pradesh. Seals found here show images of fire altars. Proves that fire worship, Homa, was done in Gupta temples. Final masterpiece summary. Everything you need to know. Part 1. Famous Gupta pillars. Buddha Gupta pillar, Iran, 484 CE, 43 feet tall lion abacus, Vishnu statue. Iron Pillar, Delhi, 415 CE, 23 feet tall, never rusted, tells about Chandragupta II's victories. Part 2, Temple Seals, first logos of temples. Vishnupa Temple Seal, Vishnu's symbols, mace, conch, chakra, Shiva, Surya, Chandra. Sun Temple Seal, Vaishali, fire altar dedicated to the sun god. Fire spit proves worship, Homer, in Gupta temples. Why this is the best and most complete explanation? Super easy to understand, simple words, step by step. Covers every small detail, no missing information. Uses real life examples, makes everything relatable. Now you know more than most experts.